is going to be moderated by Mr. Kwachi Donkor, who is the founder and CEO of Africa Tourism Partners. Kwachi, welcome. Thank you so much. I think what I'd like to do is hand over to you to introduce your panel and take it away. We'll be talking about how soon can business meetings in Africa safely resume. Kwachi, over to you.
Thank you very much.
Kwachi, we have some sound issues your side.
I think what we should do, Tess, let's take his video off, see whether that helps.
Okay. Now, Kwachi, if you can hear us, we took down your video to see if we can improve your sound.
Kwachi, it's your bandwidth. It's very low. If you can
Is it
change
better
the
now?
network. I think we keep the video off if you're on the same network.
Kwachi, please go ahead.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Is it better now?
100%. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Would you like to try your video again, Kwachi?
Just 1 second. 1 second. Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can, thank you.
All right. What I said is thank you very much. I think the first session was excellent, and I'm sure that my panel is up to the task. Our assignment is how soon can business meetings safely resume? And I think I'm not the one to share. I'm sure that the panel of experts will be able to do that. What I would like to do in the interest of time is to get each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and answer the question, how can business resume? We all know, as has been alluded by the colleagues, that the mine sector is a very critical industry to our African economies for a couple of reasons. It goes beyond tourism. It touches on expertise industries. It touches on development. It touches on cooperation, and it touches on a whole number of stuff. And the last report, according to WTTC and UNWTO, that the industry worth about $650 billion. Africa, unfortunately, has only 2% of this, but I don't see it as a challenge. I see that as an opportunity. And we believe that this is the time for us to leverage that opportunity to make use of our assets in Africa to basically take advantage post-COVID, during COVID era, to bring the industry back and help us to generate a lot of business. So I will start with Jacinta. Given this background, Jacinta, maybe briefly tell us who you are and what you do, and thereafter give us an indication on how soon can business meetings safely resume.
Thank you very much, Kwachi, and I appreciate. My name is Jacinta Nzioka, National Coordinator of the Kenya National Convention Bureau. The Bureau is relatively young, under 1 year. We were established in October 2019. And within this period, my role, of course, is to ensure that a proper institution is well established in line with all the efficiencies to be able to be competitive and to position Kenya competitively as a nice destination. This calls for a lot of collaboration, a lot of learnings and drawing insights from previous performance of the sector, and an opportunity for us to to go into the sector with a relatively new outlook as an organization. The industry has been in maize for long. Kenya is not a new destination to maize, but the role of coordination of all the maize activities within the country now falls on this organization. So we have been engaging our trade since inception. And through various engagements, we noticed and forecast that perhaps from Q2 of 2021, we may start seeing, confidence in people moving to a bit medium to long haul destinations for maize. But in the interim and now, between in the short term, there are opportunities for us to really work on domestic and regional, because what now we await as a destination and in the maize subsector are guidelines from the government, because the air is still restricted in terms of travel. We have some border closures, lockdowns, cessations in some areas. So as soon as that is done and we have proper safety and health protocols, which we've already drafted anyway with the guidance of the Ministry of Tourism, we will be able now to slowly reopen, as of course safeguarding the people of the country and safeguarding our future businesses and of course our clients.
So thank you very much. What I'm hearing is that Kenya will resume, business will resume when I would say that the country resumes. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Is there any indication when the country is looking at opening up the borders?
Oh, Kwachi, I think this question is very difficult for me to answer because of course
right.
it's at high level and I cannot predict. We've got to monitor. Only yesterday, the central government and the county governments had a meeting led by our president on a gradual reopening of the country in all the sectors. So we await for further details. As you can imagine, this is a high level process. So we await for details so that we can customize these to the subsector.
Great, thank you very much, Jacinta. Jeffers, I think you play a very important role across the continent. Is Jeffers here?
Yes, I am.
Right, can we see his face, please? Yes, yes. Jeffers, I think I'm trying to see how I can grow my hair like yours. So hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. The point that I'm raising here is that Jacinta is not sure when it's going to open. First of all, I would like you to introduce yourself briefly. Let's be mindful of time. And also respond to the same question. How soon? You will be speaking from Continental Administration perspective. So if you are not very sure, possibly you could give us what your expectations are.
Thanks so much, Kwache, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody who is in this meeting. My name is Jeffers Miruka, as Kwache has said. I'm the president of the African Society of Association Executives, and I'm also the CEO of the African Association of Agricultural Economics. I'm basically somebody who's been in the association industry for more than 10 years of my working career. Number one, basically to echo what my colleague Jacinta has spoken about, associations are ready to go back to their meetings, and we all know that associations form the backbone of all the MICE events that take place around the world. And I always tell people that almost 80% of all international MICE events are basically from associations. What we are waiting for, as Jacinta said, are the guidelines which are coming from our governments across Africa to be able to let us know how prepared they are for us to resume or get into meetings 2.0 maybe because of the COVID. And then we're also looking at what healthy and safety protocols have been put in place by specific governments in Africa to help us be confident in actually even going to certain destinations. And I can tell you one thing is that associations are keenly following what comes from each and every country in Africa. And we know who is doing well, we know who is basically not doing very well. And when that time comes of going around Africa for our events, those countries which are prepared will actually get the lion's share of association meetings. So we're waiting for that, and then we jump back into business.
Right. Thank you very much. So you become the school headmaster. You want to crack the whip. The boys and the girls who behave well and better will obviously get the best marks and possibly get awards.
Absolutely.
Right. But following to that question, what contribution are you making to ensure that the African countries in our preparedness to open understand what your expectations are as associations? Is there any communication going on with the countries in Africa to ensure that they understand what your needs and your requirements would be or are in this, I call it the COVID era, in the COVID era?
Well, that's a nice question. Associations are now playing a major role in helping countries get prepared for the post-COVID reopening. And each country is tapping into their local association, depending on which industry they represent, to help them come up with the clear guidelines and probably the protocols and also the standards which have to be set. So the communication I always receive from my members across Africa is that they are actively involved in helping their governments and also maybe meeting planners and practitioners to be able to be prepared for the reopening. So we're playing roles differently depending on which countries we are, but what comes much clearer to FSAE is that associations are willing and ready to get back into business. And let me tell you something which probably I'll say again. You know, in Africa, we have more than 600,000 associations. More than 600,000 associations. So these 600,000 associations, we do know that almost 90% of those, 95% of those associations are not active. What do we need to do? This is the time that governments must actually come back and try to reach out to those associations and know what is it that is making them not be active and not be able to fulfill their objectives. And I always say that we are in the process of reaching out to as many of our governments and the convention bureaus across Africa to go back and probably to governments and come up with something like a stimulus program, which will make our associations come back to their activity. And if we only out of almost 600,000 associations, if in Africa we activate 10% of that, which is 60,000 associations, and you can probably spread to every country to have about 1,000 associations across Africa, which are active, then we will actually be self-sufficient without going outside the continent.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a very interesting issue you've raised, and it's something that I will take you on for us to debate a bit further, because it's an interesting observation. Lily, nice having you here. I would like us to see your face, please. Is Lily here? Great. Lily, I think similarly, I would like you to quickly introduce yourself and respond to the same question from HATAP and Botswana's perspective. We know that your members need to restart their business, need to re-engage, particularly for the mic segments across the globe and within Botswana and possibly in Africa and neighboring countries. Based on this, when do you feel that the industry should resume to operate? Let's take it from Botswana, which is your area, and then your global perspective, African perspective on this.
Thank you very much, Kwekwe. Lily Raporong is my name. I am with the Hospitality and Tourism Association of Botswana, which is an umbrella organization for the tourism industry. We represent all the subsectors of the tourism industry, and what we do is policy advocacy to promote an enabling environment for business growth. We intend to position Botswana as the destination of choice, like everybody else, I guess. But anyway, in terms of where we are as a country, currently in Botswana, what is happening, we've got one active case, and I would say that the industry has opened up, completely opened up, including the MICE industry. The hotel sector was the last to come on the 5th of June. However, having said the industry has been opened up, does not suggest that in terms of the restrictions have been eased. The restrictions are still in place. Only essential movement is allowed, which means therefore that movement has really been curtailed. All of us are aware that what we thrive on movement. Now, what we are doing as an industry, of course, we are working, the MICE is together with the hotels that are working jointly to finalize on the SOPs in order that at least as soon as the movement is eased, we are ready to service our clients. We are ready to assure them that everything is in place. We are going to take care of them. Not only just for clients, but also for our staff members. We also need to ensure that they are taken care of. In terms of what Botswana needs to do to open up, we believe that in Botswana, based on at least the information that government provides, we should be able to now open up the domestic travel, because when you look at the transportation side of it, the public transportation side of it has been fully opened. Public transport is operating at full capacity, and therefore we are currently in negotiation with government to say that even us as an industry, we need, because they had put a cap. They said that in hotels and meeting venues, they can only host up to 10 people in a room. And we are saying the spaces, some spaces are way much bigger. So maybe we need to look at increasing the numbers. We need to say how much space does one have and how many, based on social distancing, all the protocols that are needed to ensure that everybody is safe, exactly how much can a space accommodate. So those are the conversations that we are currently having internally. And then when it goes to border opening, what is happening in Botswana? The borders are opened only for essential movement. For any other, the borders are still closed. And when are they really going to be opened? We are not so sure either. What we are looking at, we've already started conversations in the region with some countries, Botswana, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, and Zambia. And we are saying we need to also lobby our governments to work together. For example, if we cannot open up all at the same time, we had said maybe Botswana and Namibia, based on the information provided in both countries on how COVID is, the stages of COVID, we are saying maybe Namibia and Botswana, we may have to engage and bring our governments on board, and then the borders open so that movement between the two countries can start. So really, I would say for Botswana, there is a little bit of progress. We wish it could move at a faster pace, but of course, taking into consideration all the necessary that needs to happen.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And I think well done to Botswana. I think the issue is ensuring that you are able to lobby the government to increase the opportunities available. My apologies for that. Right, sorry for that. So thank you. And I also see that you are ready for collaboration and lobbying and advocacy, which is another way we have to go to make sure that we are able to, my apologies, we are able to basically open up. Let's go to Gary. Gary, I think one important thing that we've all seen over the last couple of months or the first half of the year is virtual meetings taking over the MICE industry for the simple reason that we are unable to meet. So the way we see it is that virtual has become part of the DNA of the MICE industry. We know this is going to impact on revenue streams of conference venues and facilities, including accommodation, food and beverage, and everything else. So being the CEO of one of the leading convention centers in Africa and in South Africa, what strategies are you putting in place to drive the business in a sustainable and profitable manner? And when do you think that we should open? Please just start by introducing yourself and then respond to the question that I've just asked.
Okay, afternoon, Kwake, and afternoon to the participants, and thanks for having me. So yes, as you outlined, so first of all, as you mentioned, Gary, one of the joint CEOs for the Century City Conference Center and Hotel, based very much on the southern tip of Africa, here in Cape Town, which is freezing cold today, I might add. But yeah, we're one of the very few, if not the only, privately owned conference centers. So as you can imagine, the COVID-19 has had a devastating effect on our business. And literally, like with all hotels and conference centers, business has come to a complete standstill. In saying that, we put in various recovery plans, and we moved pretty quickly into the virtual space as well. So this week, in fact, our staff are all undergoing training as we prepare for next week to launch the Century City Virtual Conference Center. We always knew as a venue that virtual was going to become a reality, but probably got pushed forward by 5 to 10 years. So while virtual was a space we were always going to go into as the requirements of our clients led us into that direction, it just came a lot quicker than what we expected. So to answer your question, certainly virtual will be around for a while. But what we are seeing from people that we're engaging with at the moment is that people are still saying that nothing will replace face-to-face meetings. So obviously that's very encouraging for us, where we operate a conference center. In terms of the opening and when we will see a recovery, that's at the moment out of our hands. We're waiting for our governments to advise us when we will move to the various levels that will allow for international travel and cross-border travel. But in the meantime, what we can do is focus on that virtual. We've got a forward book that was confirmed with us right through until 2024. But so we're approaching numerous, specifically within the corporate segment at the moment, and association, mind you, to offer our virtual platform, which is something that we're able to offer at the moment. From a margins point of view, the margins are a lot smaller, but then again, so is your expenditure. So it's not. Sorry, it's not. Very consuming on staff and food and beverage and so on. So certainly for the next year, our plan is to move into that virtual space and capitalize on the opportunities. As I say, we've got a forward book. We've been also very lucky with numerous conferences that were booked for the next year, where I would say 90% of them decided not to cancel, but rather postpone. And 90% of them, we had substantial deposits on hand, and they've said, just hang on to the deposit and we will use it when we are able to, which was really great. So that obviously helped from a cash flow point of view, but also from a business sustainability point of view, to ensure that those people will still return to our center. So a lot of the business is saying to us at the moment, we'll now start using those deposits that we've paid for our virtual conference centers. What we also are hearing from the corporate segment specifically as well is that while while corporates may not be confident to get onto aeroplanes, even domestically, they would be prepared. So we're partnering with a venue in Johannesburg and Durban, so that corporates can have virtual meetings, but they can all come together in one place in, say, Johannesburg, in Durban, and in Cape Town, the various destinations, and then virtually conference from those 3 locations, which then does stimulate the food and beverage income that we would normally get. So I think that'll sort of be phase 2. You'll go virtual, then you'll go sort of a hybrid type of solution, and then eventually back to the usual conferencing face to face. But certainly we do think that virtual is around for a while, and also the feedback that we're receiving is where a corporate may have had 4 to 5 meetings on a face-to-face basis, they now would say have 2 or 3 face-to-face and 2 or 3 virtually a year. Obviously, as everybody's been affected financially and people need to save on their travel expenditure. So
thank you very much, Gary. I think that is very insightful. I'll come back to that because the mathematics and the financial and the mathematical financial accounting around that will be interesting to hear, how the virtual could be basically exploited to possibly make some money, not as high as we might be earning or receiving from face-to-face meetings. And I'm also glad, I would like to reinforce the fact that I believe that face-to-face is not going to die. It's here, like we said, newspapers were going to die, and newspapers are still around. We still run around and get our Sunday Times and magazines and stuff like that. So I personally believe in that. Now, moving on, we got Frank with us, and Frank is the marketing director, Destination Marketing Director for Rwanda Convention Bureau, and I've had the privilege of working with him and still working with him. Hopefully we have the ATLF in this year. Frank, the same question to Jacinta. You are running a convention bureau, and we know that a lot of your meetings have been postponed. We all advocated for meetings being postponed and not being canceled. From your perspective and Rwanda's perspective, how soon can the Africa mine sector open? And what are you doing to make sure that it happens? From Rwanda, your personal. Please introduce yourself a bit more and get on to the point. Yes. Frank, have you unmuted yourself?
He is unmuted, but we couldn't hear him. Try again, Frank. Nope. It says you're unmuted, but there must be an issue with your earphones.
Frank, check again.
Not yet.
I cannot hear him. I can't hear you. John, can you hear him?
No, just take your earphones out. Good idea. Pull them out of the computer, Frank, and see whether that helps.
Unless you might have joined without the audio.
It says he's got audio. We just can't hear him.
Okay. While Frank is trying to sort himself out, we'll come back to Frank. Let's go back to Gary, and then we will work our way up so that we don't lose that thought. Gary, I just in a very simplistic term, let's be mindful of time. You got 3 minutes for that.
Okay.
I want you to unpack the revenue model around the virtual conferencing for a conference center, or as you call the virtual conference center. I like that. What is the model, and what can other facilities, smaller facilities, I'm interested in the smaller facilities, learn from this and at least make some money when we open?
Okay, so we're still trying to finalize our revenue model, and as we've got into the space only recently, started to understand that you can get virtual conferencing and you can get proper virtual conferencing. As with, I suppose it's as with venues, you get if I could call it 2-star venues, 3-star venues, 4-star and 5. So what we're currently doing at the moment is doing a full SWOT analysis of all virtual conferencing platforms which are available, simply because we've come up with a platform that we believe we're the event specialists. We believe, running a conference center, if we run a conference center, which has been voted by Saki now the best in the country for 2 years in a row. And now we launch our Century City virtual conference center. It has to be on par with that. So it has to be up to the highest of standards. And so what we've been coming to realize is that there are so many platforms out there, and everybody has got a platform these days. But as we then explore those platforms more, we see that it's nothing perhaps more than another alternative to Zoom or Teams, etc. Whereas our platform would allow for gala dinners, it would allow for exhibitors, it allows for various attendees to go into breakaway rooms, into small lounges. We're actually converting a few of our meeting rooms into permanent studios with green screen setups and so on. So we could pull in speakers from around the world and they'd all be sitting on the same stage. So to answer your question in terms of the revenue model, we're still trying to figure out exactly by doing the SWOT analysis to see what we can charge, because we are coming up against other virtual platforms which are charging minimal for it, but the quality is really poor. So we would still like to position ourselves as leaders within the conference and events industry. And if it has to cost a bit more, then it will cost more. And obviously, as it costs more, it does come with additional expenditure. What is nice about the virtual platform is there are lots of add-ons available to clients to meet their financial needs and their budgets. So we've got an opportunity to work with clients as you would in a conference center, but we've got a lot more flexibility from just a stock standard sort of example of a Zoom webinar to a proper event, all-day event, which is live recorded.
Thank you very much. I think that's an interesting. Please share the model with us. We don't need all the business secrets, but it would be nice to have something that people could learn from, particularly those up and coming venues and small operators. Frank is back. Is Frank back?
Yes, I am back. Can you hear me?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Do you want me to repeat the question? Basically,
Yes,
what I'm saying is that Rwanda is at the forefront as far as the mines in Africa is concerned, and you are doing very well. So I wanted you to first introduce yourself, and two, tell us what Rwanda is doing in order for us to resume business, and how soon can that be done?
Thank you, Coach, and good afternoon, everyone, and my apologies for the technical issue. My name is Frank Murangwa, and I'm the Director of Destination Marketing at Rwanda Convention Bureau. And very delighted to be on this platform. And the Rwanda Convention Bureau is a destination marketing organization that is in charge of promoting the country for vice business. And as my colleagues and the previous speakers shared, we really take this opportunity as a great platform for all of us to share what is happening in our respective countries, and also learn from each other, and we work really collectively to see how we can open back our industry. And specifically from a destination point of view, I think as a country, we've done our best to ensure that we contain the spread of COVID. And we've been also very fortunate that we've had very few cases that have led to death of few people. And so we feel as a country, we've done our best and we continue to do our best. But what we also see is really the solidarity we've had within the industry, within our local industry here, but also the clients that we've been working with, especially Kwache talked about it, the cancellation and the postponement of different events that were scheduled to be hosted in Rwanda this year. This year was really a major year for Rwanda. We were supposed to have major events hosted in the country, but it was really taken us by surprise, and we continue to work together with the different partners to reschedule. And so far, we feel we shall get back to normal. But as a country, we continue to see measures really being taken in terms of preparing our industry, in terms of setting up protocols that are going to guide how the industry functions. But also we've seen a proactiveness from our private sector, where our number of private sector have now really ventured into taking actions in the putting in protocols that are needed to ensure that the safety and the safety of the delegates that are going to eventually visit us and come to our country are in place. And that is really where we are in terms of getting ready to reopen the business. We all very sure know that as the people in this industry that my business really is a key economic driver to what we do as economies. And for that reason, we feel that we can't wait to really to reopen the business. As we know, jobs have been lost. No foreign currency that is coming in at the moment. And beyond that, the economic impact that goes down even to, agriculture has been really reduced and if not completely stopped. And so we're all really eagerly waiting to see how the sector opens. And back to your question, Kwache, how soon? If you ask me, I would say even tomorrow we can open, but that is not the current situation. We need to really keep on monitoring and see what is happening. We have discussions at the high level that really looking at how the sector and the country can open up as soon as possible. But this again, it depends on the global and the region, on what is happening in the region and globally. But internally, we've opened up. We've now opened the intercity travels since last week, and this has already allowed the businesses really to resume. Our hospitality sectors have been opened up, but with now limitation of social events or events. Events are not yet allowed, but we're watching to see what happens. And we really looking forward to see this happening, but we can't really say or tell as my previous speakers.
Okay, thank you. We get the gist. You can't confirm the time. You have to look at the there. We've lost Frank again.
I think Frank's connection dropped here.
Kwacha was saying that we can't tell the time now, but we're looking forward.
Let's go back. We will come back to that. Let's go back to Jacinta.
I think we've lost Kwache.
Very well. But my question is, can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you, Kwache.
Okay, let me do it with my video and see. Is it better?
You're good, Kwache.
Is it better?
Good. Can hear now?
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on today. But basically, my question is, we understand the state of readiness in terms of all the COVID protocols and requirements. In terms of domestic, for mice, what are your plans?
Thank you, Kwache.
In Africa, yeah.
I think you broke off, but I presume you asked about the leverage for domestic and intra-Africa, correct?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Okay, of course that Domestic is a key focus for the MICE subsector in Kenya, and not just MICE, but even leisure and all sorts of travel, because this is where there is seemingly the low-lying fruit because of the restrictions of travel within a country. And we've seen that in other parts of the world where countries open to domestic and then to regions, we are seeing these regional travel bubbles developing. So as Africa, we also need to put in place our own plans and strategy with regards to leveraging on opportunities to ensure that travel within the region is facilitated. For us in Kenya, definitely we are alive to that fact. And in the local market, the key thing is to just continue keeping positive visibility and liaison with our industry. There are opportunities, of course, to support and capacity build the associations, as Jeff has said, because we find associations within the country that have registered, they're not very active, they're not members of regional or international associations. So there is an opportunity there to quickly engage with them and be able to see an opportunity for us to start even with the national association meetings. The other area which is quite important is the corporate sector. With or without COVID, corporates must meet and discuss and strategize on their plans of how to grow their businesses. Whether they do it virtually or face-to-face, they have to do it. And within the country, the current regulation allows only 15 people for a gathering. And we have made a proposal to review this so that the number of delegates doesn't depend on, it depends on the size. So if you have a capacity in your center or in your venue to host 300, perhaps now host half of that, which is 150. We also have opportunities as a destination to be able to look at locations that we haven't thought of before as new venues, interesting and unique sites out in the wilderness, to be able to have meetings under canvas out in the wilderness, where space and air circulation is not an issue. Those are opportunities for us as a destination. Our National Tourism Board is currently really focusing on virtual tours and ensuring that there's positive visibility of such attractions, and they're showcasing Kenya in an excellent way, showcasing these experiences through a series of virtual tours. We also see an opportunity to collaborate further with partners to develop the incentive market. For sure, the incentive market within the domestic and regional has not been big, and so that is an area that definitely can come up well and be able to bring business in this area. And certain sectors like the medical, the academia, intergovernmental meetings will find their place, because there will be need to discuss a lot of things during this period and post-COVID, to share issues on how you've handled this, how the virus, is treating, the world, and looking for new innovations. So those are areas that definitely for us we look at. But collaboration with our regional state partners will be key, and that is an area that we definitely need to look at.
Thank you very much, Jacinta. I think it's collaboration, it's trying to tap into your own resources and the markets within the country. And I like the last part where you are looking at the government, the corporate, the expert industries in the country to keep it in the country, and the innovation of having it possibly in the bush. So that is a great opportunity that we can all look into for the rest of the continent. I think I'll go the same order. Jeffrey, let's try to be mindful of time. We got only about 15.
Kwacha, you muted yourself, I think. Can you unmute?
How do we ensure, Jeff, that we don't zoom ourselves out of these virtual meetings? Jeffrey? Jeffrey?
That's an interesting question, and I think as my other colleagues in the panel have spoken, face-to-face meetings are there to stay. We all know and accept that. Very difficult to replace face-to-face meetings, and really, I do not think there is anybody in the who will want to see face-to-face meetings zoomed out to the more modern now household zooming, you know. And let's first speak about meeting suppliers. Let's talk about venues. Let's talk about convention centers. Let's even speak about convention bureaus who are actually positioning the destinations for events. In their own planning, they can't even allow face-to-face meetings out. So we truly know that that is something which will continue to be there. And in our new normal, obviously, we know that we need to be more innovative, accommodating both face-to-face and virtual meetings in the form of hybrid meetings, which basically we need to continue strengthening, because we know that going forward, even if we go to the old normal, which everybody agrees we are not going to, we know that venues, which probably, like Gary said, big venues like his venue, which probably normally accommodates about 2,000 people, may now not accommodate the 2,000 people. So there must be a way that if they accommodate half of that, which is 1,000, there must be a way they have to put in place to make sure that the virtual network is also available, which can bring in more people to that event. And also, we know that one of the key things of this our meetings is networking. You know, let's be very factual that meeting virtually, it doesn't really promote strong networking. And one of the things that we've seen the benefits of face-to-face meetings over years, and which we strongly support and we strongly talk about, is the capacity to network, the capacity to meet somebody from a different background, the capacity to have a one-on-one chat on probably what they're doing, especially if it's a professionally, these are the people who are in different places, and also create that business. You know, if you want business from me, sometimes we need to sit somewhere for a cup of coffee for us to discuss that business. We cannot completely do it virtually. So for me, that is not going to be zoomed out. And then we know that associations going forward also need to, number one, make sure that they're strong. And I like talking about strong associations, because when you have strong associations, which means you are fulfilling your mission, you're fulfilling your vision and your objectives, you will start attracting members naturally. And when you start attracting members to your association, you will start having local meetings, maybe in-country meetings. And when you start having in-country meetings, which I know all the DMOs here, Jacinta and Frank can actually support, they will start meeting in different places. And once we attain that, we will start naturally attracting international partners. Let me tell you, if you want to bring a bigger association event in your country, the first thing you need to think about is collaborations. As associations, whenever we're talking about
okay, sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry to cut you.
Sure.
I'm sorry to cut you. Let's come back to that if time allows. Let's go to
Kwache, can you take your video off again? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Kwachi, we're running out of time. If it's okay with you, can we maybe hand over to Frank for 2 minutes and then to Lily, and then we need to wrap up, if that's okay? Frank, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I've done that. Thank you.
Go for it. Thanks, Frank.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Kwache.
Oh, I'm not sure. My apologies for this. I'm not sure what's going on, the network here. Those are some of the challenges that we have to live with and manage as we go along. But my question basically is that Lily rather, how well is the members, your members equipped, and how are you going to equip them more to be able to take opportunity of the virtual conferencing that is becoming a norm in the way we do business?
Thank you very much again, Kwache. For our members here, what we are looking at is to try and use technology as much as we can. Some of them have already started working on development of their apps where they can register their clients that will actually assist them in compiling data that they can later on use for market intelligence. But over and above that, I think this period has accorded us a very good opportunity in Botswana because many a times we're not able to bid for very large activities or events because of capacity. And this is the time for us now to maximize on technology where we can work with the space that we have, and then everything else can be done virtually. So indeed, this is a great opportunity for us. I think I want to also, as we talk about technology, maybe tie in the collaboration that is needed by the region as well as the continent at large. This is also another opportunity that this period has presented to us in Africa. It's very, very important that as a region, if I'm to say SADC, we need to look into regional integration and start focusing on areas where we needed to have acted on. For example, issues around the Univisa. We need to move as fast as we can so that as soon as we open our borders, that movement, the flow becomes very efficient, is very easy to do. We need to look also at opportunity, how we collaborate, how we create those partnerships, how we create the synergies. Can we even co-host as countries? For example, Botswana and Zimbabwe, areas that are very close together, Big Falls and Kasane. Can we co-host as countries? Can we co-host as Botswana and Namibia? So this period has shown us that as Africa, we need to embrace our diversity. We need to find ways of working together. We need to make Africa prosper. We need to now even educate each other of the offerings that we have. We need to see from the bottom to the top of the African traveler, now enjoying Africa traveling.
So Lily, I'm interfering because of time. My apologies once again. But what you are looking at, we got to collaborate more, work together more to ensure that we are able to basically benefit from our own resources around in different countries, working together. And you also respond to say that it's an opportunity to make the industry now learn how to use technology more and progress going into the future. I think I will quickly come to Gary. Please, let's keep our answers for each one of you. Gary, coming back to what we've spoken about from venue perspective, what opportunities do you think are there that we have not looked into beyond the program that you are running? If I'm Joe Soap having a 40-bedroom kind of conference facility, what opportunities are there at the moment that I can leverage to make sure that I can continue with my business? And if I'm a bigger one like you, what opportunities? So let's look at those two angles. Share your views and what do you think?
Okay, yeah, there are very few opportunities, to be quite frank, at the moment. But I think that each, without sharing our entire marketing plan, each venue is going to have to really have a look at their different segments. Whereas before, for example, we used to focus quite heavily on accommodation linked conferencing, simply because we've got a 125-bedroom hotel, and also we have a obligation to all the hotels within Century City to try and bring bums in beds as well as in seats, and the knock-on effect that has on the restaurants and the shopping mall and so on. So we don't only draw feet to the conference center, it's the spillover to all the, but essentially, I think you're going to have a look at the different markets individually. So conferencing on its own and not necessarily with accommodation, and go through. And as has been mentioned earlier, I think all the opportunities are certainly going to be domestic based for a long time until, and as was mentioned earlier, it's only once domestic travel starts and confidence levels are up with your domestic will international follow. So, we're looking at various opportunities within our conference center at the moment in terms of whether it may be a warehouse for medical supplies, for example, or a testing station. And those are unusual things, as I said earlier, studios for the virtual conferencing. So we've got a car company perhaps that's going to bring 5 or 6 motor vehicles into our halls and do their virtual car launch from the center. So it's changed our focus quite a bit, but you're going to have to, for each individual property, depending on your location and size of venue and so on, have a look a little bit differently at your markets and at the cost of sale structure. So whereas before you could charge, whatever it was, but now people are paying for a venue for a long period of time. You're not going to get the same kind of revenue that you would have historically. So from a cost of sales point of view, you need to watch that very carefully.
Again, I think basically it got to be based on creativity and innovation to be able, like you were talking of virtual car launch and such initiatives. So we all have to look at our market and be creative going forward. And possibly we might need professionals to assist from that perspective. Frank, I think one important thing, we've spoken about collaboration a lot. And I know you are one of the architects of what we call the Coalition of Africa Convention Bureaus. Now, is that platform, Frank, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Kwache. I can.
I'm saying you are one of the architects of the Africa Coalition of Convention Bureaus. We are talking of collaboration. We are talking of innovation. How relevant is that kind of togetherness for the continent at the moment, where convention bureaus would like to work together to make sure that we grow the mine sector across the continent?
Yeah, thank you, Kwacha. I think it's very obvious that collaboration is actually the most important thing that we all need to work on together. From the previous speakers you heard from Jacinta, Jeffers, and Gary, we're all looking at really partnerships and collaboration. And I'm even glad that we're discussing this. The Coalition of African Convention Bureaus discussion started even way back before, COVID-19 came in. And so for me, as a person, but also as a country, we're taking this seriously. We want to encourage more convention bureaus to come together so that we can be able to exchange businesses. Jeff has shared with us that we've got over 600,000 associations in Africa, and that is on the association segment. If you go to the other, my businesses, corporate, intergovernmental, there are so many businesses, but we don't know because we don't talk to each other and we don't work with each other. And for me to make this happen, if we can really accelerate and have the Coalition of African Convention Bureau becoming a reality, that is going to really make our work easily. And I hope that we're going to continue pushing it. A number of countries have already committed to that, South Africa and Rwanda, and definitely we're seeing Kenya coming to it and the other countries, and this is really the way forward. But I think, Kwachi, if you allow, one last point I want to emphasize, I think, is let's not lose hope. We know the meetings, the industry will come back.
That's your parting shot. Quickly, we've run out of time, so just 2 seconds for each one of you. Let's start with the ladies, Jacinta, Lily, and then we go to Gary, and Jeffers, and Jeffers, because Frank has already given his parting shot. Please, Jacinta.
Thank you, Kwachi, and thank you, panelists, for sharing. My parting shot definitely is around not losing hope and ensuring that we really put to fruition this collaboration that we are talking about. Let us move quickly. Let us engage. We have the resource. We have our industry players and ourselves to quickly sit and chat away on how this collaboration is going to work, because it is definitely the travel bubbles that we are seeing around the world. We cannot run away from it. And if the rest of the world will not be able to travel outside their continents, then we have a huge opportunity to develop innovative products for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lily, please, your parting shot, keep it short.
Mute, Lily.
Can we hear Lily?
There we go.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me now? Thank you, Kwachi.
Yes, please.
I think this period is presenting us with great opportunities. We just need to flip it and see how best what it is that we can extract from it. As an industry, we've been through this journey before. Of course, this is maybe the worst of it all. However, we believe that we will come out stronger. We will come out, we are a resilient sector, and therefore we should be able to soldier on.
Thank you very much. Gary, your parting shot. Gary,
Yeah,
your parting shot.
I think we mustn't fool ourselves. As an industry, we've got a very, very tough year ahead. And we must do everything we can to try and bring in as much revenue as possible, watch our expenditure in order to survive, hang on to as many jobs as possible, and assist our employees within our various organizations as much as we can. But most importantly, just try and survive this next year. Certainly the third and fourth quarter, it is encouraging to see we're getting numerous inquiries for late next year for conferencing to resume. So certainly people want to get back to conferencing.
Thank you, Gary. Jeffers, please, a minute.
Thanks.
2 seconds, rather.
One thing, convention bureaus are the link between associations and governments. And so we look forward a lot to convention bureaus to help us reach out to your local associations. As AFSI, we're willing and ready to come in and do capacity building by training your local association to make sure that they know what to do so that they can be active participants in the mines sector.
Okay. Thank you all very much. The key takeout for me will be that Africa is ready. You are all ready to resume, and I see that we've all started implementing the social distancing, the physical distancing, and all the protocols. So I would like to announce to the world that Africa is ready to welcome them when we open. The unfortunate side is nobody knows when we open, but looking at the trends, I believe that we will start opening very soon as countries, some of them have opened domestically. So hopefully between July and September, there will be a lot more. One critical thing that I've also picked up from the session is technology innovation, which means that we all have to be fully equipped to be able to have hybrid and virtual and everything that comes with it. And also, as Gary said, we shouldn't fool ourselves. Look at the accounting side of the financial to manage costs and to be able to grow the revenues through what we have at hand. But the bottom line is about collaboration. And I think from the mine sector, Frank, I think we will still work with you in terms of the coalition of the convention bureaus and make sure that we grow the system. Thank you and well done to all of you. Thank you, Tess. Thank you, John. And sorry for stealing more of your time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Kwachi, thank you so much for running that session for us with some great questions. And to our panelists from 5 different countries, in fact, that was great input, experience, and opinions from 6 different countries across Africa. Highly appreciated, and thanks for the summary there, Kwachi.